Hello. So obviously, I am not cut out for trying to make a living of making videos for YouTube. I was going to try to do that. Um, I clearly cannot. I'm not. I don't have enough time in my life to try to do all this and edit and everything like that, like you have to do. Um, and it's unfortunate. I would like to have been able to try to do that, but I do. Uh, every day take care of my mom, actually. So I've got a much more important thing to do than to try to do that. But anyway, I wanted to go ahead and share this video because this was actually something that I made. It's been a couple of weeks ago. It's been probably a month or two ago, and I never did get it, finished editing and put together and everything to where I could try to upload it. This was actually 8 hours worth of footage, and I condensed it and then downloaded it so that because I can only go to 8 times speed for some reason. So I went ahead and did that, got it down to an hour's worth of video, and knew nobody's going to sit there and watch all that. So I I finally got it to download, and it took forever. It was excruciating. It did not want to download. But anyway, finally got that downloaded and was able to truncate the video down to 10 times speed altogether. So this is sped up by 10 times. But like I said, the original process took me a little over 8 hours. And it's a pendant that I'm working on, a landscape sort of bib necklace type of pendant. I really like doing these sort of abstract kind of, you wouldn't normally see that sort of pendant on a person, you know. Um, but I like that sort of thing. It's an eye catcher. It's a conversation piece for sure. Um, and I had this idea one night, and I really wanted to try to do it. I thought it would look really nifty to have just a little landscape going off into the woods, with some mushrooms and trees and everything like that. So that's what I'm trying to do. And if I'd had, planned it out better, I probably wouldn't have gone with that chocolate brown for the background, because I really did end up not sticking with that. It was kind of uh, useless, really, in a way. But um, you'll see in the end, it ends up working out fine. You don't even notice it in the end. But so this is where I'm just trying to trying to lay out trees and um, just you know trying to create like a background of sort of woodsy information on the pendant part. Um, I honestly I didn't have a plan, and I should have planned it out. I had a vision in my head, and that's the way I usually work. So I just went with it. but and I thought the process was pretty nifty to see it really come together. So I took that chocolate brown, made laid out a flat piece of it, and I have a cutter that I kind of made out of like plastic, and or like a sheet of laminate that I had cut, and use that as a template to make the pendant shape, and then so I cut that out and laid it on that necklace form I got from, what was it? It was one of the companies. I got that from, like, sort of like Wish or something like that. It was in 2019, and it's like a collar necklace, and it's supposed to just be that silver, you know, collar. just a plain silver thing. And I took the chains off of it to use it that way. And it makes a nice form because you get the curve that goes around the neck, but you also have the concave curve that causes it not to just poke into your chest, if you will. So I really love using that as a guideline, a mold sort of for my necklaces like that. Um, so I just put that around on there, try to get it as even as possible. It's never possible to get it completely perfectly even ever because nothing is perfect in this world. So um, then I just took some different shades of brown. I mixed some tan and that chocolate brown together, and made it a little bit lighter to form the trees. And then of course here I'm adding a little bit more of the tan into it and the ecru to make it a lighter color, and sort of I was trying to make it look like a sandy sort of dirt path going down through the woods. It ends up kind of looking more like a tree trunk to begin with. And you know I guess just looking at it from afar it kind of looks like a tree trunk still, but um either way it sort of works. But I just took some the green, like the olive green, and the actual green colors of this is all Primo that I'm using, and I mixed them in with each other to make different hues of green. Um, I think I think there was a sort of a light green as well. I can't remember for sure, honestly, but anyway, I took and mixed those colors together to make it a variant of different greenery to have, and just popped it around on the trees, on the limbs of the trees. um, just it's not really realism, but sort of it kind of looks like pointillism in the end. It's just a bit abstract but a bit real, I guess. It's hard to explain, but um, I decided that brown background was just horrible, especially with the trees, and there was uh, no real good contrast that was coming up with the greenery that I was putting on there, and I needed that to stand out better. So I took and uh, blended some blues, the cobalt blue, and I might have just mixed it with some white to get variants of that same color. Um, but I used that and just rolling out little pieces of it and using the ball tool to sort of poke it into the background and spread it out almost like a clay painting. I've seen people do that before. It's almost that sort of thing. So that's what I'm doing now, filling in the background, making it where it really, when I did that part, it really made it start to come alive for me. It really made it pop. So I took and so that it would have sort of an ombre with the blues. I had the cobalt that I put at the top part, and then the lighter blue that I had mixed with the cobalt and white to put down towards the lower part of the horizon, and make it look like it was, lightning at the horizon. Um, and just mixed it in together on the pendant itself, um, kind of following the same guideline that I had all the way across, and not really not really doing any specific measurements or anything like that. I couldn't do any specific measurements of the bits of clay that I used because it was all just it was sculpting and you know painting with clay. So you just have to use what you have to use, and you can't be precise with that. So filling it in the background, you can see it already. It just it really made it come to life at that point. Um, just brought it out so much better than it was. So I think if I were to do something like this again, I would probably go ahead and do an actual clay blend of the background most color instead of having to do it the way that I just did. But at the same time, having those strokes in it with the from the tool marks, it kind of adds to the almost like a painting sort of effect that it ended up having. And then I added this the brown, the light brown in for the ground area, which basically ended up being futile. All of this work here was sort of useless because I'll end up covering that in a few minutes with the green. So it's sort of pointless to do. But I guess it added some depth. It added some height to that area so that the greenery that I end up adding, uh, had a little bit more thickness to it. But I really I went all out with it, trying to add layers. This is what you get when you don't have a plan. So, um, so I guess the takeaway here is plan it out, or just poke around and hope that it works out like mine. It was not. I wasn't sure as I worked on it. I got very disappointed at times. I was kind of getting a little frustrated with it. It didn't seem like it was turning out quite like I wanted to, and I was having to try to figure out how to make it look better because it it really seemed odd, um, to have that dark background, and then I figured out that I needed these sort of very high color contrasts to help make it work right. So anyway, I'm adding more greenery now. I think to the trees and trying to just fill it in. It ends up really being very filled in. Oh, I'm putting branches on. That's what it is. Um, and trying to add depth to the pathway, um, an attempt to make it look like it goes way back in there and that it's actually a pathway instead of a big tree trunk. So um, again, it was almost futile because I ended up covering that whole area with more greenery. So silliness, but again, you can plan it out better, and you know, maybe if you wanted to attempt a pendant sort of like this, you could sort of learn from my mistakes here. Um, it really does matter to know what you're doing ahead of time. So um, yeah, now I'm filling in with the green. I started out with the really dark kind of olive green, and I think I actually even mixed some of the olive green with black to make it even darker. Um, and then, of course, then you have the olive green color, and then I mixed in some of the regular green with it, and then I think I might have mixed some of that green with white. So you have different shades of greenery on there, and that really that really adds a lot to the look of it. I think, to have, you know, if you didn't have all the different shades of it, it would be very flat looking. So just filling it in, adding more, poking it around, laying it out. It's a lot of it's a lot of detail work, um, and I'm pretty pleased with the way it ends up. But it takes a lot of little fiddly details in here. So I hope you're enjoying seeing what I do. Um, and I really do enjoy doing this sort of work, but I have not had much time to really do clay work lately. Everything I know the whole 2020 began such a downward spiral for everybody. I think, there's been a whole lot that's happened since 2020 began, and in for both sides of our family as well as myself and my own personal health. Uh, I spent my whole life never having to be in the hospital ever until 2020. And since then, I've been in the hospital twice. So um, it's really, and it wasn't anything related to the big thing. It was different. It was completely different other stuff. But and the last of it was at the beginning of this year, actually, where I had to have a cardioversion. So, things happen and things change your life completely. So, um, there's a whole lot to do and all of that. But I really I would love to have been able to do these videos more often, more frequently. Um, I really wanted to become a lot less awkward and, um, you know, maybe build it up where I could sort of not really make a career of it, but have a little supplemental income maybe, because I can't really go out and work. And I'm okay with, I'm thrilled to pieces to have my mom to be able to take care of, uh, you know, but nobody pays you for that. And I feel like a financial burden to her sometimes, because she does help me in that way. So I was hoping to be able to make a go of this, but it's not going to work out that way, and that's all right. It's it's just a thing. We've we've gotten through it this far, this well, so we will continue to do that. Anyway, um, here it is, still coming to life. You can see all the greenery I had, and it's really funny because even though I sped this up by 10 times altogether, it still seems like it's taken forever to do. I'm watching this as you're watching it and trying to do a voiceover for it. Again, I could have done much better planning and actually tried to write out a script and follow that, but I didn't. I just turned it on and started recording. So here's what you get. Um, anyway, we're we're all people. We're all human beings here. So if anybody's more perfect, go ahead and just be perfect, and we appreciate you. But I'm not. So filling in, doing a lot more greenery, whole bunch of greenery. It's a luscious, lively little wooded area that we're in here. It seems almost magical, almost a Bob Ross sort of location. That was what I was kind of going for, something that he might would paint, but in clay and very dimensional. So I ended up covering like all of the tan clay that I added previously. I don't know. I I like working in futility. So um yeah, it's and I'll cover it all completely. Don't worry. I know there's a little bit of tan showing. I get rid of that. Um but it's, like I said, it's a lively forest, so it needs a lot of greenery. But doing more detailing work on that tree, trying to make it look like real actual bark and everything. I don't know how really productive that was because, once it bakes and everything, it's just kind of all the whole picture. You don't really notice the details of that very much. I think I probably could have done something a little bit better about making texture for that tree, that big tree especially, um, because it's just lines that I cut into it with a needle tool basically, and I guess I guess that's okay. I guess there are some trees that look like that, so I didn't really have a tree in mind that I was trying to make. It was just a big old tree, and it's a very unbalanced. that was another thing that I don't know if I'm pleased with or disappointed in, because you know the symmetry of it is way off. Like, I know there's a tree on either side of the path, and there's trees on either side of the path going down through the path and everything like that. But the tree, the big tree on this side, and then the smaller tree on that side, I guess it just seems very unbalanced. But, nature is unbalanced, isn't it? So, there you go. Adding some of those little mushrooms now. I don't even know what they call them, but it's like they're some of my favorite sort of the look of it. It's like a little shelf of fungus that grows on trees, and so I took a lot of translucent and mixed it in with the tan, and that's how I'm making that color, so that it ends up being, when you bake it, it becomes more of a translucent sort of effect to it. Um, there's some light green. I like the light green. It pops. It really shows that liveliness of it. Um, so see, covered up all the tan. I'm not going to have any of that. Um, it is really, it's funny that I did all that earlier just to cover it completely. But that's you work, you live, you learn. You know. So still filling it in, poking it around. Just I use that little ball tool a lot, so it really does end up making it look like it's done in pointillism painting. Um, in a lot of ways, some of it looks like that, and some of it looks more like brush strokes. So um, it's a mix of of styles, I guess. But so it's just more detailing. It really does. It took a long time. It felt like it took just it did, because it took 8 hours to do altogether. I had 8 hours of footage when I started out, completely unedited, um, and I was genuinely just hitting the record button as soon as I would start working on it again. Here I took a little snake of the yellow clay, and I'm just using my needle tool to actually sort of cut off itty bitty little pieces of it, and then I'll roll it into a ball in the palm of my hand, and popping them around on the greenery down there, trying to make some flowers, because as luscious as this place is, obviously it needs flowers. So it needed some purple flowers too, not just yellow, not just the dandelions, but some some pretty purple flowers, and then some pink ones, because why not? So we have just some really, I don't know what kind of flowers they're supposed to be, but they're all over the place on there. And they really just, they were just little dots on there to begin with. So taking my needle tool, or little pokey tool, and putting some detailing on them, because the my ball tool was too big to make them look really good if I had poked at them with that. Um, and then I have to have mushrooms, because you have to have some little toadstools. So took that same mixture. I think I made it a little bit. Yeah, I made it a little bit like whiter. I added white to the same mixture that I had made before for the other mushrooms on the for the other fungus that was growing on the tree, and I just added some white to it so it would be a little bit lighter colored. And then the red, I just made a little made a little ball, and then used my thumb to sort of create the cavity part of it, and then molded it around with my pinching it with my fingers to make it look a little bit pointy at the top in an oblong sort of way. And then I added the little white dots. I really probably went a little overboard with that. Um, and regretfully, I took here and started trying to blend them in. And I really hate that I did that because they looked okay until I started doing that. And since I had done it on the one, I had to go ahead and do it to all of them. So I did. um, so now they're all just overtaken with that white. But, you know, it's what happened. So they still look kind of cute. And I'm not going to worry about it. Put a little texture on the stems of the mushrooms. They have to have some texture. And then you need some other mushrooms too. So I took that same from the first uh, fungus and made some of the little tiny little. I can't remember if they call these death cat. I should have looked up to figure out what sort of mushrooms I was making here, but these are just the little tiny sort of um, just cute little brownish gray sort of simple little mushrooms, and make it look like a little forest. So, and then I took some green. I was gonna kind of wrap it around like a vine to make a border for it, to sort of finish it up there, just rolling it out and making it, you know, just wrap around the bottom. That's all you really need, just something to finish up that bottom area, because the top was not nearly as visible with the um, it looked more finished at the top rather, and the bottom part was very apparent that it needed some sort of finishing touch. So put the green around it, made it like a little vine, and added some more of those other little mushrooms on the other side, because you have to have some sort of balance. And just growing out of the roots of the tree there, sort of hiding in the background, little cute little things just in there. I thought about trying to add a fairy, and then I thought, no, I can't. I can't do that much kind of little tiny detail like that. So I had already fidgeted around enough with this already. so so I just cleaning up the edges and trying to make it look really finished and everything. And what am I doing? I don't remember what I was doing here. Adding more greenery, I guess. Oh yeah, the little stones. I added a couple of little stones. I forgot about that. Because, you have to have stones out there in the wilderness. Wild stones sitting around. So I felt like it might help it to look a little bit more of a natural thing. And then, of course, I added some moss around it and everything like that. Kind of just really trying to make it look natural. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you have a great day. And if I ever make another video, I'll show you then. All right.